Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. I want to ask you something a little uncomfortable. Have you ever sat across from a woman who once used to share everything with you and now she says almost nothing at all? She's still there, she still makes the coffee, she still laughs politely when you crack a joke, but the music between you is gone. The warmth has turned into politeness, and the silence, it's not peaceful, it's sharp, quiet, like standing in a house where all the windows have been closed and the air no longer moves. You might tell yourself she's just tired, busy, in a mood, but I want you to really hear me on this. When a woman becomes quiet, she's not fine. Silence is her strategy. Not always malicious, not always dramatic, but strategic nonetheless, because women don't go quiet for no reason, they go quiet because they are thinking. Calculating, planning. What is she planning? That's the question that should keep you awake, this silence. It's the warning before the goodbye, the stillness before the storm, and if you don't understand the language of her silence, you might not hear her leave until the door has already shut. Let's talk about what that silence really means and why it's never just nothing. Have you ever noticed that silence isn't always empty? Sometimes it's the loudest sound in the room. You come home, the lights are on, dinner's made, the kids are in bed. Everything looks normal, but it feels like you're living inside a memory of your own life. She's there, but her presence feels like a shadow. She doesn't complain, she doesn't argue, she doesn't cry. She just stops speaking, stops sharing, stops reaching. And you tell yourself maybe she's just going through something, or maybe she's giving you space, or maybe she's just not as emotional as she used to be. But deep down, something in your gut tightens. Because even though she's not saying anything, you know something has shifted, and you're right. Because when a woman becomes quiet, she's planning. She may be planning how to protect her heart, how to pull away without setting off alarm bells, how to test the waters of living life without needing you. She may be reflecting on every time she asked for your presence and got your distance. She's not speaking now because she's already spoken 1,000 times in ways you didn't notice. That quiet, it's not a pause, it's a decision in progress. A woman's silence is never random. It's not her giving up, it's her going inward. Thinking, recalibrating, watching, and sometimes, yes, sometimes, she's planning her exit, not necessarily out the door, but out of the emotional bond she once tied to you. That's a different kind of leaving. You may still see her. She still makes dinner. She still folds your shirt. She still asks how your day was, but there's a part of her that's already gone, and if you only listen to her words, you'll miss the fact that the soul behind them has packed up and started walking. We live in a culture where women are often expected to communicate better, to explain everything, to give a man the manual. But let me ask you this, what happens when she has been communicating, but you've been too distracted to hear it? When she stopped trying to explain her feelings not because she didn't have them, but because she realized you were never really listening in the first place? The quiet begins with resignation. She stops asking you to spend time, stops reminding you of the things she needs emotionally. She goes quiet not to punish you, but to preserve herself. She is reclaiming her energy, planning how to meet her own needs without waiting for someone else to finally notice. It's easy to dismiss it, to say she's just moody, or she's going through a phase. But no, silence is not a phase. It's a message, and when she no longer feels safe expressing herself, she moves into silence, not as a place of peace, but as a bunker. She is protecting her softness from being hurt again, and she's watching how you respond, watching if you even notice. What's heartbreaking is that most men don't see this silence for what it is until it's too late. Because men often don't react until something is broken, while women start pulling away the moment they feel unseen. The process of leaving doesn't always begin with luggage at the door. Sometimes it begins the moment she stops talking about what hurt her. That's when she started planning who she could be if she stopped waiting on you. You want to know what she's planning. She's planning how to feel like herself again. She's planning what her mornings might look like if she wasn't hoping for you to change. She's fantasizing about emotional safety, about connection that doesn't make her feel like she's begging. She's not texting another man. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the more dangerous plan. The one where she chooses peace over passion, where she stops hoping, where she begins letting go, quietly and with grace. And here's what's most confusing to a lot of men. She's still kind, still present, still mothering, still offering the basic courtesies of love, so you think everything is okay. But in her mind, she's already living a life that feels less lonely than the one she's living beside you. And the irony, most of the time, she didn't want this. She didn't start out wanting distance. She wanted closeness. Intimacy, but intimacy isn't just sex and Saturday night dinners. It's sharing, not facts, but feelings. And when she doesn't feel you showing up for that, she starts rewriting the story, planning a version of life that hurts less. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And if you've ever been with a woman who suddenly seems calm, quiet, composed, almost too peaceful, you should know that's not peace. That's withdrawal. She has gone quiet because she is no longer negotiating her worth in a space that won't hold it. And if that sounds too subtle for you to notice, that's the point. Now let's keep going, because this silence, this planning, it doesn't always end in separation. But it always signals something deeper. Let's look closer at what you're missing. Sometimes the plan doesn't begin with an ending. It begins with a redirection. A woman goes quiet not always because she wants to leave you, but because she's trying to find herself again. She's planning how to come back to her own voice after slowly losing it in the noise of your indifference. Her silence is her recalibration. It's the moment she says to herself, I'm tired of trying to fix this by myself. I'm tired of reaching out and not feeling met. She starts imagining what it would feel like to stop walking on emotional eggshells, to speak without being dismissed, to feel desired again, not just out of routine but out of presence. She's not just planning an escape. She's planning emotional reinvention, the kind that begins in whispers she tells herself when no one else is around. She may not even know yet if she's staying or going, but she's planning clarity. She's looking at you and wondering, do I still feel like I matter here? You see, most men misread women's silence as calmness, but calm can be dangerous when it comes from detachment. There's a moment, and it's quiet, where a woman stops fantasizing about being chosen by you and starts fantasizing about choosing herself. That's a plan, a soft, deliberate one. No drama, no declarations, but deeply rooted in a need for dignity. What happens next is subtle. She may start pulling energy inward. She doesn't initiate conversations like she used to. She doesn't follow up. She doesn't nag. In fact, she becomes strangely agreeable. That's not because she's happy. It's because she's done arguing for something that requires her to lose parts of herself just to keep it alive. She's planning how to become whole again, with or without you. She's thinking, how did I end up feeling alone next to someone I love? That's the thought that keeps her up at night. That's the question she asks herself while cooking dinner or driving home from work or folding laundry. And she's not just thinking about the past, she's looking forward. What kind of woman would she be if she stopped feeling so emotionally starved? What kind of mother? What kind of friend? What kind of lover? That's where the plans begin, small ones. She starts reclaiming joy in solo activities, listening to music she used to love, going out with people who make her feel alive, reading things that validate her truth. She's not announcing anything. She's just taking mental notes. This feels good. This feels like me. I want more of this. and in the same breath she's taking note of what doesn't. This home feels heavy. This silence feels lonely. This relationship feels like I'm shrinking inside it, and again she may still want to stay. She may love you, but even love has its limits when it's not being nourished, and she's not waiting for you to notice anymore. She's planning how to meet her own needs without hoping someone else will finally step up. Let's talk about what this looks like behind the scenes. She'll stop checking your mood before expressing hers. She'll stop adjusting her words to make you feel more comfortable. She'll start saying no, not out of spite, but out of fatigue, emotional fatigue, because after a while, self-abandonment becomes too painful to maintain. And so the plan is simple. I will no longer betray myself in order to keep this connection alive, and yet, to the outside world, and maybe even to you, everything seems normal. But it's not. She's retreating, not because she doesn't care, but because she's realizing that caring alone isn't enough. She's planning how to build a life that doesn't rely on being emotionally rescued. She's no longer trying to prove that she's worth listening to. She's not performing anymore. She's practicing being whole, practicing not needing to over-explain herself, practicing not begging for emotional intimacy. And here's the quiet heartbreak that happens in this space. You might be ready to love her again after she's already left in spirit. And by then, your change, your effort, your realization might arrive too late, because she's already planned the hardest part, detaching from the version of you that didn't see her. There is a kind of silence that is full of grief, and then there is the kind of silence that is full of readiness. She is getting ready. That is what planning sounds like in a woman. It sounds like less checking in. Less eye contact, less are you okay, and more I'll take care of it, less waiting up, less asking for time. Less reminders, more breathing on her own. That is what emotional withdrawal looks like in real time. And if you are a man watching this, I want to tell you something not to scare you, but to wake you. If you've started noticing that your woman is quieter, gentler, less reactive, that might not be her calming down, that might be her growing quiet enough to hear herself again, because your voice has been louder than hers for too long. So the question now becomes, are you listening not to what she's saying, but to what she's not saying anymore? Let's look deeper, because when silence becomes a strategy, something in the relationship has already begun to break. What most men don't realize is that the woman they're with today is often not the same woman they met 5 years ago. Not because she's changed randomly, but because life in a relationship has shaped her, silenced her in small, subtle ways. She has absorbed the lack of appreciation, the absence of real presence, the way she had to become the emotional caretaker of the home while quietly carrying her own unmet needs. And when she becomes quiet, that silence is no longer a passive thing. It's an active design. She is planning how to build an inner world where she doesn't have to feel so invisible. She's planning how to move through the days without breaking down. She's planning how to live with her disappointment without making you feel guilty, because even now, in her pain, she's still protecting you from the depth of it. You might see her standing at the sink, lost in thought, or scrolling on her phone, face expressionless. You may ask if everything's okay, and she says, "I'm fine," and maybe she even believes it, because she's told herself it has to be fine. She's told herself, this is what it is now, and when a woman accepts that too soon, that's not peace. That's emotional resignation. That's the beginning of her new plan to expect less, to need less, to feel less. She is protecting herself by lowering her emotional ceiling. You used to be the one who could pull her out of her head with a single joke. One kiss could reset the mood, but now it feels like there's a glass wall between you. You can't see her. You can even hear her laugh, but you can't touch her spirit anymore. That's not distance, that's preparation. She is planning an inner exit, one where she doesn't slam the door, but simply slips through it when you least expect. And this is where it becomes especially painful. She starts planning what parts of herself she wants to reclaim, the ones she lost, while trying to keep things peaceful, easy, convenient for you. She remembers the girl she used to be, spontaneous, wild, curious, and she looks at herself now, steady but silenced. She wonders if she traded freedom for predictability, if she gave up her spark to keep a structure intact. That thought sits with her late at night, and then comes the next one. Do I still belong to myself in this relationship? That question, do I still belong to myself, that's the one that changes everything. When a woman starts building a life emotionally apart from you, she does it brick by brick. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't need to. It starts when she no longer rushes to share her day with you, when she reaches for her journal instead of your chest, when she starts craving solitude more than intimacy, not because she wants to be alone, but because being near you feels lonelier than being by herself. And here's where the tragedy deepens. She may still love you deeply, but love is no longer enough when it costs her her voice. Her quiet is the result of everything she wanted to say but stopped believing it mattered, and so she plans. Not in fury, not in haste, not in spite, but in silence. She plans where she can be heard, where she can feel her own laughter echo back to her, where her tenderness won't feel like a burden to carry or a problem to fix. When women go quiet, it's not always because they want to leave you. It's because they want to come home to themselves, and sometimes, tragically, the only way to do that is to create emotional distance from the man they once gave everything to. So what can you do if you are the man on the other side of this silence, if you feel her drifting and your instinct is to wait until the drift turns into a demand? You've already waited too long. She's not asking any more. She's no longer inviting you into her heart with words, because words didn't work. What she's inviting you into now is your presence. She wants to feel you feel her. She wants to see that you notice when she no longer reaches for your hand. She wants to know that you're emotionally intelligent enough to say, "You've been quieter lately, and I've been scared to ask why, but I want to know. I want to hear you not just today, but from now on." But if you go into defense mode, if you start explaining all the ways you've been trying, or get angry because she didn't just say something, or accuse her of being distant without asking what caused the distance, then all you're doing is confirming why she went silent in the first place. Women don't go quiet to manipulate. They go quiet to survive. They go quiet when speaking becomes pointless. And when they do, what they're planning is a future where they can breathe fully, freely, without wondering if today will be the day you finally see her. The most dangerous thing you can do now is nothing, and yet it is not too late, not always. If her heart is still open, even a little, you have a chance. But you cannot talk your way back. You must feel your way back. Show her through presence, through listening. Through changing, not promising, through seeing her, not fixing her, through asking questions, not giving solutions. Because if you keep pretending the silence is just a phase, you will wake up one day to an echo where her voice used to be. And you'll realize she didn't leave suddenly. She planned it silently, patiently, and you never even saw it coming. But you could have, if only you had listened to the quiet. The quiet moments between two people are not empty. They are loaded with energy, sometimes longing, sometimes anger, sometimes grief, and when a woman becomes quiet, she's not erasing you. She's returning to herself, slowly, carefully, and yes, sometimes permanently. She may be sitting across from you at dinner, nodding at your stories, passing the salt, smiling on cue. But internally she's somewhere else, and that's not her being fake, that's her being tired, that's her performing normalcy for the sake of peace. Because her silence is now part of her plan, her inner dialogue has shifted from "how do I fix this?" to how do I survive this, and you don't need her to scream to know that something is wrong. That's the old model of communication. That pain must be loud, but the feminine pain, especially the kind carried in silence, is delicate and powerful. It's when a woman moves from confrontation to conservation, from trying to rebuild to quietly building a door to walk through alone if she must. And you will feel that door before you ever see it. She stops laughing the way she used to. She doesn't ask where you're going. She no longer tries to share her excitement with you, and when she's upset, she no longer tells you, because she has already told you again and again in ways you chose not to hear. So now she's not trying to be heard. She's trying to be whole. The most devastating part of all this, you may still love her deeply. You may even begin to miss her before she's gone. But now you're reacting to her absence, and she's reacting to years of absence you didn't notice. So what now? This isn't about guilt. This is about awareness. Awareness that the emotional climate in a relationship doesn't change in a day. It changes in the silences you didn't question, in the conversations you avoided, in the dismissals you thought were minor. And her silence, it's a mirror, one you may not like to look into, but one that holds the truth of where you both are. If you still love her, don't ask her why she went quiet. Ask yourself why you didn't hear her before she stopped talking. Don't offer promises, offer presence. Don't perform your love, embody it. Don't ask her what to do. Learn how to feel again, because the plan she's forming in that silence, it's not just about you, it's about her healing. Her reconnection to herself, her deep, quiet knowing that she cannot continue living as a stranger to her own heart. And if you're lucky enough to still have access to her heart, even just a crack of it, honor it. Show up without needing her to lead you. Apologize without making it about how hard this is for you. Listen without defending. Be gentle with her silence. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. A woman's silence holds more information about the relationship than all the arguments you've ever had. And to every man watching this, I want you to understand something. Most women don't want to leave. They want to be loved better, deeper, more attuned. They don't want another man. They want the man they chose to show up to see them again, to cherish them, to remember them. But when that doesn't happen, she stops explaining and starts planning. She may be planning a boundary, a break, a life that feels emotionally safer, or yes, she may be planning to walk away entirely. But all of these plans are born from one core truth. She no longer feels held, and every woman deserves to feel emotionally held. Not just desired, not just respected, but held with presence, with care, with reverence. So if your woman has gone quiet, don't wait for her to say it's over. Don't wait for her to move out. Don't wait for her to fall into the arms of someone else who listens. Wake up now. The quiet is her signal, not of drama, not of rage, but of choice. And when a woman reaches the point where she's planning in silence, the time for passive love has expired. She doesn't need promises, she needs evidence. She doesn't need intensity, she needs intimacy. She doesn't need you to chase her. She needs you to sit with her, see her, ask again, and stay long enough to hear the truth she's stopped trying to tell. Because in the end, she's not just planning her way out, she's planning her way home, back to herself. And if you want to be part of that home, you better learn how to listen before the silence turns into goodbye. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or just take one honest action in your relationship today. Even a small moment of connection can open a door back to love, and if you want more honest, heart-centered conversations like this, subscribe to the Intimacy Lab. This is where we talk not just about relationships, but about the relationship you have with yourself too. Take care of your heart and take care of hers. We'll talk soon.